Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating but challenging section of Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra that deals with his critique of poets.
That sounds great. Poets are usually seen in a positive light, so I'm very curious to hear why Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, takes such a critical stance.
It begins with Zarathustra telling a disciple that since he has come to know the body better, the spirit is just a symbol, and anything imperishable is merely a simile.
That sounds great. Poets are usually seen in a positive light, so I'm very curious to hear why Nietzsche, through Zarathustra, takes such a critical stance.
It begins with Zarathustra telling a disciple that since he has come to know the body better, the spirit is just a symbol, and anything imperishable is merely a simile.
Okay, so he's prioritizing the physical, tangible world over abstract spiritual ideas. That seems like a core Nietzschean theme we've discussed before.
Exactly. The disciple then reminds Zarathustra that he once said, "The poets lie too much," and he directly asks him why he believes this is true.
That's a very direct question. It's the kind of thing you'd want a clear answer for. How does Zarathustra respond to being put on the spot like that?
Well, his response is quite evasive and poetic in itself. He says he isn't someone who can just be asked for his why, as his experiences and reasons are old.
So he's saying his opinions are not based on recent logic, but on a lifetime of experience that's hard to just package up and explain on demand.
Precisely. He compares himself to a cask of memory and says it's too much to carry his reasons with him. He even says his opinions are like birds that fly away.
That's a beautiful but also frustrating image. He's sidestepping the question by suggesting his knowledge is more intuitive and less structured, almost like it's alive.
And then the conversation takes a clever turn. Zarathustra asks the disciple, "But what if I told you that I, Zarathustra, am also a poet?"
Ah, the paradox. He's pointing out his own contradiction. If poets lie too much, and he is a poet, should the disciple believe what he's saying at all?
Right. The disciple simply answers, "I believe in Zarathustra." But Zarathustra dismisses this, saying that belief, even belief in himself, doesn't make something true or holy.
So he's rejecting blind faith. He doesn't want followers who believe in him as a person. He wants people to grapple with the ideas themselves. That's a huge point.
It is. After this, he finally concedes the point and says, "But granting that someone did say in all seriousness that the poets lie too much, he was right. We do lie too much."
So he finally agrees, and he includes himself in that group. Now I'm really interested in the reason. Why does he think poets are fundamentally obligated to lie?
The core reason he gives is simple. We also know too little and are bad learners, so we are obliged to lie. It's a lie born from a lack of knowledge.
That's a powerful accusation. It implies that poetry is a substitute for genuine, difficult learning. Can you give an example of what he means by this?
He says poets adulterate their wine, meaning they mix truth with falsehood. They create poisonous concoctions in their cellars because they don't have the pure substance of knowledge.
So it's like they're filling in the gaps of their understanding with beautiful but ultimately misleading or even harmful inventions. It's a creative shortcut.
Yes, and he continues by saying that because they know so little, they are drawn to the poor in spirit, especially young women, and the stories old women tell in the evening.
He seems to be criticizing a preference for folk wisdom or simplistic beliefs over rigorous systematic knowledge. Is that the idea here?
That's exactly it. He says poets believe there's a secret access to knowledge that is blocked off for those who actually try to learn things through hard work.
So poets champion intuition and popular wisdom, presenting it as a deeper truth that scholars and scientists, the learners, are somehow missing out on.
Correct. He gives another example of this, the belief that if you lie in the grass on a lonely slope, you'll learn profound secrets of heaven and earth.
That sounds very romantic, but he's framing it as a delusion. He's saying poets mistake their own feelings for a message from the universe.
And that leads to vanity. He says when poets feel tender emotions, they think nature itself is in love with them and is whispering secrets in their ear. This is where he makes his biggest claim. He says that all gods are poet symbolizations, poet sophistications. They are the ultimate poetic invention.
Wow. So he's arguing that our entire concept of the divine, of gods and supermen, is a product of this poetic poetic tendency to create beautiful fictions.
Yes, he describes poets setting up their gaudy puppets in the realm of the clouds and calling them gods, but he finds them too light and inadequate to be real.
So he's tired of these grand, beautiful ideas that are presented as reality, but are, in his view, completely empty and superficial. It's a weariness with falsehood.
At this point, Zarathustra becomes silent and looks inward. After a sigh, he expresses this weariness, saying he is tired of poets, both the old and the new.
It sounds like a deep exhaustion. What is his fundamental problem with all of them, the ancient ones and the contemporary ones?
He calls them all superficial and shallow seas. His main criticism is that they did not think sufficiently into the depth. Therefore, their feeling did not reach to the bottom.
So their emotions, while perhaps intense, are not grounded in deep thought or true understanding. They're just surface-level sensations without real substance.
Exactly. He dismisses their work as some sensation of voluptuousness and some sensation of tedium. He finds their art is like ghost breathing and ghost whisking.
That's a very dismissive image. He's saying their creations lack the fervor of tones, meaning they lack genuine, deeply rooted passion and truth.
He also adds that they are not pure enough for him. He accuses them of muddying their water to make it seem deep, which is a fantastic metaphor.
I love that. So instead of actually being deep, they just create confusion and murkiness to give the illusion of depth. It's a trick to impress others.
Right. They try to be reconcilers and mixers, but to him, they are just half and half and impure, never committing to a single, clear, hard-won truth.
This sounds like a real frustration for him. He's looking for something pure and profound, but everywhere he looks, he finds these mixed, shallow creations.
He uses another metaphor. He casts his net into their sea, hoping to catch good fish, but he always just pulls up the head of some ancient dead god.
So he's saying that when you search for substance in their work, all you find are the remnants of old discarded beliefs and hollow idols, not living truth.
And he says that while you might find pearls in them, this only makes them more like hard mollusks. Instead of a soul, he often finds salt slime.
That's a harsh image. The pearl is the beautiful poem, but the creature that made it is primitive and lacks a true deep soul. The art is deceptive.
Now he moves to his final big analogy, which is about vanity. He says the poets have learned vanity from the sea, which he calls the peacock of peacocks.
The sea as the peacock of peacocks? Can you break that down? How is the sea vain in his view?
He says the sea spreads its beautiful tail of silver and silk lace even before the ugliest of buffaloes. It's constantly showing off its beauty, regardless of the audience.
And the buffalo, which he describes as being close to the sand and the swamp, is completely unimpressed by this display. It doesn't care for beauty.
Exactly. And this is the parable for the poets. He says the spirit of the poet is itself the peacock of peacocks and a sea of vanity. It just wants spectators.
Yes, their spirit desperately seeks spectators. But Zarathustra says he has grown weary of this spirit, and he foresees a time when that spirit will grow weary of itself.
That's an interesting prediction. He sees an end point to this poetic vanity. What does he see coming next? What is the change he's talking about? He says he has seen the poets change, their glance turning inwards, towards themselves. He has seen the emergence of what he calls penitence of the spirit.
Penitence of the spirit? That sounds like a religious term. What does he mean by that?
Is it a good thing in his eyes? Penitents are people who show sorrow or regret for having done wrong. So, penitents of the spirit are creators who feel remorse for their vanity and superficiality.
So it's a turn towards self-reflection and honesty. They're growing out of the old poet's skin and becoming something new, something more critical of their own creations.
That's the idea. It signifies a potential evolution away from creating beautiful lies and towards a more truthful, self-aware, and perhaps more difficult form of expression.
That's a really powerful arc, moving from a harsh critique to a vision of future transformation. It perfectly captures Nietzsche's theme of self-overcoming.
It really does. It challenges us to think about where our own ideas of beauty and truth come from, and whether they are grounded in reality or just pretty lies.
A fantastic and complex passage to unpack. Thank you for walking us through that so clearly. It gives a lot to think about regarding art and truth.
My pleasure. It's a dense piece, but the message about intellectual honesty and moving beyond superficial beauty is as relevant today as it ever was.